Okay, this morning we're working on Canary OB Peacock. This is a strain I'm trying to set with this OB. I'm trying to get a canary yellow fish. My grandmother, when I was little, raised a lot of canaries, and so I'm trying to replicate what I remember that color to be. We're polyculturing this fish with some sailfin mollies, and Susie's showing them in a bucket. I'm going to transfer them to a jar so we can see them a little better. These are some of our breeders.
You have the bread.
What's that?
You have the bread. Bread.
My hand will show how big they are. That's a nice big male. Nice big female. We select for size. This is bronze marble sailfin. That guy's almost a black, but he's got a little bit of bronze in him. That female's a non-marble bronze. We have some green sailfins in there right now. There's a young bronze male. Right now we're just trying to get the numbers up. This fish took a big hit after Hurricane Harvey. If you're interested in knowing what I think happened, there's a blog on our website, goliadfarms.com. If you go to, I think the tab is news. If you do a search for TEA, you'll see what I think happened to our sailfin mollies. But they're starting to recover. We have a bunch of youngsters, and I increased the breeding colony to 39 fish. Some of the smaller ones are not in here. That guy's really, really nice. See, he's got a lot of turquoise in him too. Very, very nice fish. Okay, I'm going to put these guys up. And we're going to set up the 300-gallon vat for the breeders. Oh, so it's drinking water. Okay. I've released the mollies. Let me put this jar up. I've released the mollies into the 300-gallon vat. And Susie, if you'll show, there are tons of feeder guppies, which we also polyculture with the cichlids. They do remarkably well. And I'm going to show setting this vat up. I've done this several times, but people keep asking, so I'm going to show it again. First, I'm going to turn on the water. These are the two valves that come off that 2-inch water line. We have pumps set down at that end of the greenhouse. Susie, point that way. That pick up the water from the sump, pumps it in here. Water overflows out these. And Susie can show the water overflowing back there. Step this way a bit. See the vat? Here.
I got it.
You got it? Okay. She says she got it. Overflows into the floor gutter, goes back down to the sump by gravity, and gets picked up by the pumps again. So now I'm going to set this vat up for breeding, and then we'll show you the breeder cichlids that go in here. This is what we call a fry cage. Has legs on it made out of PVC. Has a grid, an aquaculture mesh cylinder with a bottom. And the reason we put it up on legs is that allows the fish to get underneath it, keep things from clogging up too much. Here's another one. We put 2 of these in each vat. And we put 2 of what we call cichlid hotels made out of 2-inch PVC with cylinders of aquaculture mesh, tie wrap to it, zip tied, whatever you want to call those things. We use black recycled plastic ones. I put 2 of those in each fry cage. Then we have, to provide cover for the adult fish that want to get away from somebody who's picking on them, we have these cichlid hotels arranged to be hung on the side. And again, we want to keep them up off the bottom so the fish can get underneath to keep things clean. This is another type of cichlid hotel made out of black drain pipe, again with PVC. The PVC makes it sink. Both this black pipe and the aquaculture mesh will float if it's not weighted down. So I put 3 pairs of these in and one big one, and this provides places for little fish or subordinate females, carrying females, anybody that feels like they need to hide from somebody. Okay, so this is that. It's now set up. It will fill over the course of the next half an hour, about probably 200 gallons an hour at least flowing into this vat, probably more like 3 or 4. You'll see that we have a pipe with airlines on it. That's inactive. It has been quite a while. I just haven't harvested those pipes yet. We learned long ago that we get enough aeration from the water flow in the system that we don't have to have air. It just uses electricity, one other thing to go wrong. You can see the vat next door to it, the water bubbles air into it fairly well. So we get a lot of aeration. Okay, now we're going to go. Susie, why don't you walk ahead of me? Okay, now she walks slower than I do, so she refuses to be in front of me. Oh, so you're in the way. Okay, what we've done here is, this is a really small breeding colony. We only had, I think, 19 fish in it that we set up in late February or early March after the Texas winter storm. We lost most of our breeders, so we're rebuilding this breeding colony. I'd like to have 40 to 50 females and about 3 males in a breeding colony. We couldn't do that. We did 1 male and 18 females. We recovered 17 females and 2 males, meaning I wasn't good at picking sexes of the young fish that I put in. Not pretty good, considering I did 10 juveniles and only 1 of them turned out to be a male. Interesting thing about this strain is that the females tend to be more mottled than the males, and you can also sex them by looking at their heads as well as fins. But when they're little, when they're 3 inches long, they're a little hard to sex. And Susie showed us that a female just released her fry. There are 2 young females in there carrying. There are 8 females in there, 8 young females I just picked, and you can see they're fairly mottled. A couple of those are carrying too, so I'm certain about those. So we're going to set these aside, and I'll carefully pour those out so the fry don't get messed up. Here are our larger females, and Susie has trouble when she's sorting this fish because the females are pretty damn colorful. So it's sometimes hard to sex them by color. And then this is our original breeder male from last cycle. Nice fish. And a young male that slipped through. He's a little bit bluer than I like, but he'll get golder when he gets bigger. Right now I just need a second male in case something happens. We lost one fish from the last cycle, and that what we do to the fish when we net them out, process them, count them, inventory them, and stuff, it's fairly stressful. And so any fish that's a little bit weak probably won't make that process. And that must have happened to one of the fish that we had. So I'm ready to set these guys up for breeding. I didn't bring out small aquarium, but maybe I can show off this male a little bit better in a jar. Some people object to seeing fish in hands, but that we handle fish. Here's one of the critters from the greenhouse. That's a raft spider, and worse for wear. I'll put it there. It can recover if it wants to, but better for the fish to be handled by hand than with nets. Nets tend to hurt scales and stuff. This is our breeder male. Not quite as canary yellow as I like, but he's a nice fish. He'll do for the time being until he has a better son. Okay, so these guys are ready to go to their new home. I won't bore y'all with that process. It's just pouring them in. Good fish keeping.